Hi, and welcome to the Matter Financial Report. I'm joined by my co-host, Tony Shore. Tony, how are you?
Great. I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here. Another episode of the Matter Financial Report with our host. Got to introduce you.
I realize
Uh,
I skipped over that part.
this is Michael Matter. This is the man himself, the man with the plan, and I'm Tony Shore, the co-host. But yes, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me on your show once again, Michael, because a lot of great information each and every week. And now I believe this is the first show that'll probably be up on video, maybe the second. And so I want to encourage those hearing this show, if you're not already watching it on YouTube, check it out on YouTube. That's a fun place to go. Subscribe, give us an honest 5-star review. That's always just kidding. You can give us whatever review you want, but I know you love hearing from listeners and viewers. So that'll be fun to have a YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, how long have we been recording the podcast? It's been a couple of months now,
Oh, yeah, at
right?
least. We've
So
been
it's,
doing it even longer than that, I
yeah,
think.
it
Yeah.
doesn't feel like it has been, but I guess we're almost at the end of the year. So yeah, it's
And
been about 6 months probably
yeah,
since we
time flies.
started.
Let me see when we did start. I can actually look that up right now.
And
We
I
started the
haven't
first.
told really any of my clients that we've been doing this podcast. So organically, I've had quite a few clients say, "Hey, we've been listening to your podcast." So it's been kind of cool that without any, it's just word of mouth. They've been going to the website, they've been clicking on the radio tab, and they found it on their own. So now that we're adding the video, I've been telling more of my clients about the podcast. Feel a little more
Sure.
comfortable that we worked out some of the bugs, and I feel a little more comfortable talking.
Sure.
Now I have to see myself. That's a whole nother fun fact.
Well, I looked it up. We started our first show aired or went live March 2nd of
March.
this year.
Okay.
So that's
Yeah.
quite a few months. You said 2 months. That's been a lot more than, that's been a while. So that's good. Yeah. Time
Yeah.
flies when you're having fun is what they say. So I haven't talked to you since Thanksgiving, right? And the one thing I actually thought of you on Thanksgiving Day. Here I'm with my family. Who am I thinking about? Michael Matter, because the one thought I had is I sure hope Michael Matter is overeating today. I sure hope he eats until he's way too full. Was I right?
I can confirm. I did.
Good.
It was a good time. So we actually had two different Thanksgivings. My wife is from Colombia, so it's really easy planning on our side when our family gets together. Are we going to her family or my family? Well, we're always with my family because
Yeah.
her family's back in Colombia. But my siblings, obviously, it's a little harder for them to plan to make sure we can all get together. So
Sure.
my parents came to my house for Thanksgiving. I got to do all the cooking, which I actually really enjoy doing.
Yeah.
So we put the turkey on the Traeger, had green bean casserole, sweet potatoes, mac and cheese, some dinner rolls, gravy, mashed potatoes. So we had the traditional Thanksgiving dinner, and I did, all of the cooking for that, and it turned out amazing. So if
Wow.
I leave,
Congratulations.
yeah, right, I'll pat myself on the back. If I'm
Yeah.
no longer a financial advisor, it's because we opened up a restaurant.
Oh, you don't want to do that.
No, I don't. My wife always says, we need to open up a restaurant. I said, that probably will never happen.
Yeah, that's rough.
And
That's a
then the
lot of
next,
work.
and then we overate that day. And then Friday we got together with the rest of my siblings and we went to my sister's house and overate again on
Okay.
Friday. So
Good.
how did you
I
do,
was
Tony?
worried that you wouldn't get enough to eat, Michael. That's always my main concern for you. But I didn't go crazy like I usually do. I did not eat too much. I overate a little bit. I definitely was full. And I tried to take it a little easier this year, but my sister-in-law, my wife's brother's place, we went to his place, and his wife makes the best food. And I know it sounds crazy, it sounds boring, like mashed potatoes. How many different ways can you do? She made the best mashed potatoes I've ever had. The flavor, the garlic in there, it was amazing. And the turkey was pretty good too, but then there were 3 different kinds of pie, and oh, the list goes on and on of foods we ate, and the fresh rolls. And so, yeah, I had plenty. I was not hurting. And, but really that's not what it's all about. It's about family and what you're gratitude is what it's about. What are you
It is.
grateful for? And I think that's an important message. And I know that I'm grateful for you, Michael, and the show, because I love doing the show with you each week. It's a blast. And I'm grateful for my family, of course. So we had a good time. It sounds like you had a great Thanksgiving, not too crazy, right? You didn't have to travel a lot, did you?
No, so we are all now in the same town. My brother lives about 45 minutes out. So we
Well,
got
that's
together at my sister's house. So my parents
sure.
came to my house for Thursday and then we went to my sister's. So 20
Wow.
minutes back and forth, really easy.
Wow.
And it's
That's really
nice.
nice. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. My brother-in-law's house is about 45 minutes from our place. So that's as far as we drove. So
Yeah. That's nice.
which is really nice. Yeah. We were going to drive down and see my parents, but we didn't make it. So we had kind of a low key, just one Thanksgiving meal this year. Normally we have at least 3 Thanksgivings,
Right.
but
That's
this year
the
it was
problem
just
with Thanksgiving.
yes.
Friendsgiving, Thanksgiving, and then Friday and Saturday. And
The
yeah.
both sides of the family, when you're married, you gotta hit both sides of the family, and
Yep.
then sometimes last year, I think we had 3. We did our own, then my mom and dad's side, then my wife's side. So it was crazy, right? But this year we couldn't make it down to my parents because we got 7 inches of snow and there was a travel advisory and a blizzard,
Oh,
so we
wow.
didn't wanna drive, 3.5 their place is 3.5, 4 hours away where they're at,
Wow.
so we said no go on that one. We'll go down there this coming weekend. However, great to be back on the show. We've got a great topic. You picked out another good one. What are we talking about today here?
Right. And I think not this is kind of a coincidence. We've been talking about what we're thankful for in family and didn't realize the topic that I picked fits right into that. You'd think
Yeah,
we did a more prep for the show than we actually did. But we're talking about a tool that my clients have the ability to use. It's called Generational Vault and enhanced planning. So we're talking about family estate planning is what we're talking about today. And there's
right.
an article, Investopedia. We're taking a break from Kiplinger for 1 week,
Yeah. Yeah,
and we're using
Investopedia has some great articles as
a great
well.
article. It's called
Yeah.
Estate Planning: 16 Things to Do Before You Die. We won't bore you with all 16 things from the article. We'll just hit some of the highlights today.
Yeah.
But it's about estate planning, making sure that you get your 16 ducks in a
Yeah.
row before you pass.
Sounds good. So what's the first thing on that list? What's the first thing we need to do to make sure we've got a solid plan in place? Because we don't want to leave our loved ones in a bad situation.
Yeah, the first thing you do, and it's kind of similar to putting a financial plan together, which obviously is going to be a part of the 16 things you should have done. But it's just putting all of your important things down into one place, knowing what you own. So when we put it together a financial plan, we get all of your financial assets and listed on one document. That's the first foundation for the financial plan. Well, it's the same for your estate. What do you own and where is it? And who owns it? And where do you want it to go? But
Right.
first, it's just where is it and what do you own? Put it all in one document.
Like an inventory, basically making an inventory of all the important things you own and have, right?
Exactly. So that's the first step.
Okay.
Then the second step is considering who do you want to actually inherit this after you pass.
Yeah. That's smart too. And you have to think about not just the problem when people do this is they think, okay, the home, the car, my checking account, let's see, there's that antique dresser that's worth so much, been in the family. They'll think about these things, but what's funny is I've seen it with my mom's side of the family. It was the little Masons. My grandfather was in the Masons and he had a ring and he had 3 daughters. My mom was one of them, and all 3 daughters, that's what they were concerned about. He had a whole farm, he had equipment, he had vehicles, he had land and property, but that ring was so you have to remember when you make that inventory, you might wanna communicate, "Hey, what are some things you want?" And you're probably getting into that, but I just thought I'd tell that quick story because it can be something as simple as, your Mason's ring, right?
Yeah, it's usually things that have more sentimental value than actual value in terms of
Monetary.
monetary value.
Yeah.
So you're right. I know when my grandparents passed, it was going through the house and it was okay, how can we do this fairly if it wasn't designated to where it's going to go? You can't say the couch is going here. You can't list every last asset and who it's going to go to.
No. No,
You'll
you
still
can't.
forget. Even if you tried, you'd forget something.
Right, and I'm not
So,
saying list every single item of jewelry, but maybe find out what the kids really care about
exactly.
beforehand
Before.
and add that to the list. You can't inventory every single little piece of tchotchke you own, right, or knickknack.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the baseball glove that my grandpa had, that's probably at this point a 100-year-old baseball glove that I thought no one else would probably want. And that was one of the first things that was picked
Yep,
when we did go through. And it was
sure,
kind of like a fantasy football draft. Pick a number, that's your number. You get to pick first. And whatever number you picked out of the hat, that's the order that you went. And then if you were 10, then you went through the list and then you went back. So 10 was one, and you go back and forth like
sure.
that, picking out items, right? So like
Yeah,
you said, that ring maybe didn't have a huge monetary value, but it had that sentimental value.
yeah, I
So
don't think it had a big monetary value, but it was very sentimental
yeah,
because it meant so much to my grandfather, and then it meant a lot to his girls, so,
yeah.
yeah. Make the inventory, what's next?
Storing that inventory somewhere to where people have access to it. And we talked about the generational vault. And so this is a tool that my clients have access to. It's a digital login, encrypted, where you can store important and safe documents. You can link bank accounts. You can grant access to your kids so they can see, you know, your accounts in real time if you want them to. You can limit the amount of access that they have. But
Yeah,
documents like wills, trusts, that inventory list, if you create a PDF or a Word document, you can upload it there. So there's a space for people to have access to that
yeah.
list of documents.
So the generational vault, my wife and I use that, and I can't say enough about that because it's basically an online lockbox or what they used to, the safety deposit boxes. It's like an
Right.
online safety deposit box in that you keep all your important documents and financial information, and then you can have photos. You can have that inventory list, and you can make your photos and inventory list and maybe your will. So your close family, you can give them a password that'll allow them in to see that, but you can limit some of the things. You can limit access to the actual financial accounts if you want, if you don't want them seeing all that. But it's a place to have everything important all in one place in case something does happen to you or when it does, because, it's going to happen. None of us, unfortunately, will live forever. However, you can be prepared. And that generational vault, there's unlimited storage. It has 32-bit encryption, just like banks use. I mean, it's really a great place to store insurance policies, copies of birth certificates, death certificates, wills, trusts, powers of attorney, financial accounts that can be actually updated live. You can actually have an account on there and check it like we have our 401k account, and it'll show where it's at, right? So
Right.
that's
With
really
one login. So if you have multiple bank accounts and you have your investment account, and you don't want to log into all 5 bank accounts in your 401k provider, you link it to the generational vault and you just have one login to check your values,
yeah,
right?
so great. I mean, it's just I can't tell you how valuable that is. And what surprises me is it's a great, great tool, and you offer it to the folks you work with and your clients. You
Yes.
don't charge for it,
No
do you?
charge. Nope.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I
Yeah.
think that is
Yeah.
one of the
That's
things
really
that
neat.
sets us
And
apart. Yeah.
yeah, and I think our listeners and viewers out there can actually check it out. I think there's a link to it from your site, probably. What's
Yes.
that website?
thematterfinancialgroup.com.
Yep,
On the top,
thematterfinancialgroup.com.
on the banner, top right-hand side, it's the last drop down,
Yeah,
generational vault.
yep, you can
And
go
you can
right
try to
there.
sign up for it right there without even meeting with me. But obviously, before I grant you access, we're going to want to have a conversation.
Sure.
Uh,
Yep, you can go in there and get so far, and then to get full access, you
yes.
need to come in and have a meeting, and if you, get a plan through you and work with you moving forward, then you'll get full access, and there's no cost for that or no charge, no obligation, and which is great. The only obligation is that, obviously they need to be working with you. You
Sure.
provide that for all your clients, but that is fantastic. So,
It is.
um
And And Tony, if you're working with an advisor and they don't have a tool like this, I don't like to build a wedge between myself and other advisors. I think it's important if you already have an advisor, if you're making a change, there should be a reason. But this is something that does set my practice apart from a lot of other advisors.
Yeah.
That's one of the services that's, a lot of other advisors don't offer.
Yeah. I know people who have, and my wife and I are going to do this. And of course, you say gonna, we need to do it soon because you never know the day or time. But people create videos.
Yes.
And not necessarily a video will, but you might want to create a last video talking to your children or grandchildren saying, hey, I put this all together for you. Make sure you check this out or this out and final thoughts. And, if you want to leave funeral instructions or, if you've prepaid for a funeral or burial plot, something like that, cremation, you can leave all that information in there. And that way your loved ones and your family aren't left running around. Right.
Yes.
Because it's just, there's so many things that can go in there. All critical documents can be stored there. You can include a list of your debts and debt holder information and account numbers, right? There's a lot.
Right. Long-term care, insurance, any of your 401ks or investment accounts, any documents that you think that whoever is taking over as either a trustee of your estate or if you have not set up a trust, who is going to be in charge of just the final, decisions to disperse your assets to the next generation.
Okay.
If they could have it simply listed in one spot, it's going to make it a lot easier for them.
Yep, exactly. And what should we do next?
If you have not already put a will or trust in place,
Yeah,
that is probably the next step. So after you've listed your assets and you know where they want to go, the best possible way to make sure that they get to where you want them to go is to set up most likely a trust.
sure. And so, and people, yeah, a lot of people will need a trust, not everyone, but it is nowadays, I think it becomes more and more critical. And why do you need to make sure that's done? Like, oh, well, I don't have that much anyway. I don't need to create a will or a trust or,
Sure.
and a lot of people do end up creating wills, but trust is important, isn't it?
It is, especially if you own your property. If you own a house or if you have a large, in California, depends on what state you're in, the probate process. But in California, if the only asset you have is your house and it's not owned by a trust, it has to go through the probate process. And we always talk about retirement accounts and sharing it with Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
Well, the probate process can be very expensive and lengthy.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have to hire an attorney, you're going to have to go through the courts, and the courts are going to have to decide who gets the property. If you already know where you want your property to go and it's listed inside of a trust, it skips that process.
Yeah.
So you'll have to pay to have a trust put in place, make sure it's done correctly. You hire an attorney to do that for you.
But it's a small fee compared to going through probate court, and your loved ones won't have to wait. So,
Or fight.
Let's say, you have loved ones that you want this to go to, you pass away, they need the money or need to be able to sell that to pay off whatever, but they can't because it has to go to probate and it could take a year. It could take months, it could take years. I think Prince, when he passed, he didn't have anything in place. That's still a lot of his legacy, his estate is still in the court. It's still being battled over and argued. And we're talking about a lot of money in attorney's fees if it takes a year for probate court and court fees. People are like, oh, to set up a trust, that's this amount. And I'm like, that's nothing, right? Compared to what your children will have to pay or what it's going to end up costing out of your estate or out of their pockets and the time. I think the time is even more critical than the money, although it's going to be more. I think in almost every case, it would probably be more to go through probate court than it would be to set up a trust. I can't imagine it being less to go to court because of all the attorney fees, but
Right. I mean, with Prince as a perfect example, like you said, he didn't have a trust put
Yeah.
in place, and he had so many assets. And one thing that was really important to him was his art that he made and the music that he made, and who should
Yeah.
be able to use it.
Right.
It was so important. He didn't want it to be in commercials. He didn't want it to be used for whatever purpose other than what he stated it should be used for.
Right. Yeah. He was
But at
very
this point, it
adamant.
can be used for whatever because it was never listed in a trust that this asset, my music, cannot be used
Yeah.
for this. It's
Yeah.
not listed. And the other thing is, I could claim that Prince was my father, and then the court would have to go through a process. I could contest his estate.
Yeah.
Anyone can contest the estate.
Yeah, and it's all a matter of public record too at that point. And do you want it spread?
Yeah.
Probate court will, that's public record. Anybody can
Yes.
access that, so everyone will know what you had or what you didn't
Exactly how
have, and
much. Yes.
yeah, so you want to avoid probate. That's there are many reasons to avoid probate,
Yes.
but so many people end up there because they don't plan ahead, like you
No.
said, and they don't have a trust. So,
So if you have a trust, there's a lot of assets that you want to make sure are owned by the trust. And so meeting with a financial advisor after you've set up your trust and your estate attorney to make sure that the assets that you've started with plan part one is make an inventory and what can be placed inside of the trust. Make sure the beneficiaries are listed that are going to receive those assets. Uh, but it's important to understand what should be put in a trust and what doesn't need to be put in a trust. So things like insurance policies, contracts that have a stated beneficiary listed in those policies or contracts will not pass through the trust unless you've listed the trust as the beneficiary.
hmm,
The contracts will supersede a trust.
yes,
So if you thought that you wanted this life insurance policy to be divvied up between your 4 grandkids, it's in the trust stating that this policy should go to, all of my assets should be split equally between these 4 grandkids. But on your life insurance policy, it just has one person listed as the beneficiary, and
that
you've not
person is
changed
gonna
that.
get it. It's
That
not.
person's going to get it.
Yeah, and same with a will, right? I mean, if you a will or a trust, the beneficiary designation on an account takes precedent over
It
that,
does.
and that's went all the way to the Supreme Court. So, that's pretty set in stone,
Hmm.
and so you wanna make sure those beneficiary designations are correct, and you
Exactly.
can list contingent beneficiaries, and you can list percentages, so, why not go list your 4 grandkids as beneficiaries, and they each get an equal amount, then it's taken care of, right?
Yes. And so on that list of 16 things you should do before you die is set up a trust or a will,
Yep,
and then review your accounts that have beneficiaries listed on it.
sure.
And you should have an annual review with your financial advisor on who your beneficiaries are on your accounts. Before I went into practice for myself and I worked at a bank, you'd be surprised how many bank accounts don't have beneficiaries listed. So then
Most,
your
right?
bank account's going straight to probate.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
going to be a long process before someone has access to those funds.
Yeah, my
Uh,
wife and I went and put a beneficiary designation on our bank accounts, and it's a trust. And so, you can also list your trust as a beneficiary
mhm.
designation. But before you do that, you wanna consult with an estate planning attorney that sets up the trust and run this by them, and work with a financial professional like yourself who has worked on enhanced planning, and I know you encourage your clients to do this, and you work alongside estate planning attorneys to help your clients with this, and it's so important because my wife and I had no idea we could even put a beneficiary on a bank account or on our house. You can put a beneficiary designation on anything almost. I mean, any large asset. So we have one on our house, on our property, and we have one on our bank accounts. We have beneficiary designations, and we have it all inside the trust. And a lot of people do trust, but they don't actually fund the trust. They don't put
That's
anything in it, right?
right. That was the other thing that I was going to get at is just if you have a trust, it doesn't mean that any of your assets are actually placed in it. So working with your attorney, not only setting it up, but you mentioned working with an advisor such as someone like myself. And then the third piece of the puzzle is having a great accountant or CPA, right? So triangulating, working with those 3 people when setting up these legacy accounts, it's really important to make sure that assets get to where they're supposed to go and how you want them to get there, and make sure that at the best tax advantage for them as well.
Yeah, and I know you work alongside CPAs and estate planning attorneys, and if somebody doesn't have one, you've worked with a few specific attorneys and CPAs, and so if somebody needs that and doesn't have one, you can help out in that area as well, right?
Exactly. So I have a list of people I can always refer my clients to. I don't have just one person where I automatically send them to. I like to give them an opportunity. So just like
Sure.
when you're picking an advisor, you should probably interview more than one and make sure that
Yes.
it's the right fit for you. Same with an attorney or a CPA.
Yeah. Yeah. So wills and trusts are important. I know power of attorney is another big one, right? That's a huge thing,
Power of
isn't it?
attorney, medical directives, especially depending on the state, and then tying it back into the generational vault. And I know that you mentioned this before, but having a digital copy of all of these documents in one easy login, it's beneficial, especially if something happens to you and you're not at home.
Hmm.
Okay. So if you're traveling somewhere and something happens to you, or if the person that needs to get a hold of that document's not able to go get a physical copy. Maybe your kids live in another state, but they need to have access to that medical directive, and they live 3 states over. They have access to a digital copy of these important documents. So you can carry them with you everywhere. They're in the
Right.
cloud.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they can be accessed from anywhere where there's internet access, and that's what's huge
Yes.
about this. So, very important, very good. I think this has been a great show. Before we go, is there anything else you want to add for our listeners, Michael?
Just a quick rundown. We said we're going to go over the 16 things to do before you die, but we're really just keyed on making sure that you have a plan. So, just like with financial planning, if you're trying to do it yourself and you just have a Word document or an Excel spreadsheet, well, guess what? If someone else is looking at it, they're probably going to get lost.
Right.
So have a professional put something together for you that's meaningful, that someone else is involved, and you're not going to miss some of the steps along the way.
Yeah.
And then just to tie that all together, the generational vault's a great tool. So if you aren't already using it, if you're one of my clients and you aren't using it already, take a look at it. Go to the website, thematterfinancialgroup.com, or give us a call, 916-469-9016, and we'll schedule an appointment. I'll show you what the generational vault looks like and then the rest of the planning process.
Excellent. Well, great show today. And listeners and viewers, thanks for tuning in. Michael, thanks for having me on the show once again. That does it for today's episode of the Matter Financial Report with our host, Michael Matter.